Eclectic McDick Productions focuses on everyday interactions between rural community members here in the glorious province of Saskatchewan. That's why this week we're focusing on the requirement to wave. There is an unwritten regulation here in Saskatchewan for community members to wave at each other, to members of other communities, and to wave at people who they have absolutely no idea who they are. Now, although these appear to be innocent waves exchanged between community members, there are many factors under this regulation that must be taken into consideration before exchanging said waves. As with any regulation, there can often be confusion, so following are several of the examples in which the regulation applies. Community member A is meeting community member B on a local gravel road. Now, the requirement to wave immediately applies to both community members, but said community members will have to quickly work their way through the Saskatchewan wave selection tree. Let's go through this together. First of all, is the community member able to identify the opposing community member's vehicle? If not, then the head nod wrist flip wave applies. The community member is then required to bring a detailed description of the vehicle and the driver to Coffee Row to see if anybody else knows who they are. Red Monte Carlo, I think she had glasses on. Red Monte Carlo and glasses. What the hell was that? This way, if anything has been stolen within the community, said community member can state at Coffee Row, "I met that bastard on the road!" And then, of course, if the opposing community member's vehicle can be identified, you may proceed to step 2. Is the driver of said community member's vehicle said community member? If not, then the wrist flip with no head nod wave applies. I mean, that's Bob's truck, but that's not Bob. A steady forward lean and furrow of the eyebrow may be required until said community member can identify who is driving said community member's vehicle. What the hell is that? A direct report to the community member who owns said vehicle may be required if said community member's vehicle is being driven poorly. Hey, Blue Ball. Hey, Bob, it's Quick Dick. I don't know who I just met driving your pickup, but they are driving like a complete banshee. Like, are they trying to get to the liquor store before it closes? If you can confirm that said community member was driving, then you can move to the next step. Is said community member of said vehicle driving at a speed that respects the structural integrity of your windshield? If the answer is no, then the community member can start pointing downwards in a violent manner, indicating for community member B to slow the hell down. It is also acceptable at this point in time to cuss at the opposing community member as though they are sitting in the passenger seat and can hear everything that you're saying. Hey, Bob, I just put a new windshield in this thing last week. At this point in time, community member A reserves the right to phone community member B and let them know that they have put a fucking rock into their windshield. Okay, Bob, I just met you on the road. I don't know whether you're trying to make it to the co-op before they close here tonight or what, but you just put a huge rock into my windshield. If the answer is yes, at this point in time, you have completed the Saskatchewan wave selection tree, and the left shoulder lift forward lean wave applies while calling out the community member's name. Ha-ha! Bobby! Ha-ha! Community member A is driving down Main Street and sees community member B walking out of the local grocery store with an armload of groceries. Oh, hey, it's Quick Dick. The requirement to wave applies to both community members, but there is a subsection that allows community member B to replace a wave with a large nodding of community member B's head in the direction of community member A. This subsection was designed so that community member B does not have to set down their grocery bags and put themselves at risk of squashing a loaf of bread to return said wave. Community member A is driving by the gas station and is not sure if the vehicle that is at the gas station is someone that they know or not. The requirement to waive applies to community member A, but typically results in community member A hitting the curb, a nearby light pole, or putting it in the toolies because they have lost focus on where they're driving and are trying to figure out who the hell they just waved at. Who in the hell was that? Whoa! This identification process is highly important because if it is a community member with a new vehicle, the identifying community member must bring this up at Coffee Row the next morning. They must furthermore address the fact that said community member with said new vehicle has way too much money and where the hell did they get it all from? Community member A is meeting community member B who is moving agricultural equipment down the road. Oh, Greg's moving the sprayer today. Oh, looks like his ladder's down. The requirement to waive applies to both community members in this situation, but there's once again a subsection that applies to community member A. According to the subsection, community member A must inspect said agricultural equipment for deficiencies. If any deficiencies are noted, they must immediately phone community member B and report said deficiencies. Yeah, Greg, quick dick here. So I just met you on the Gaudi Express there. You know, the stairs aren't retracted all the way on your sprayer. If I wasn't paying attention, I would have wiped those bastards right off there. You better retract those, man. This also presents community member A with the opportunity to get a whole bunch more information out of community member B while they have them on the phone, such as where community member B is going. So where are you headed to with that thing anyways? Where community member B is coming from. Yeah, whereabouts you coming from? How the crops are looking and pointing out flaws that they've seen in your operation. Yeah, so how's crops looking so far this year? I see that northeast quarter out by your dad's place are still in the field, eh? Of course, what the weather's been doing. What's the weather been doing? We could probably use a pretty good shot of rain here pretty shortly, hey? How the family's been doing. So how's the wife and kids doing there? Yeah, kids almost got those 4-H steers ready to go. And of course, to reiterate once again that there was a severe deficiency in community member B's equipment. Well, anyways, I'm gonna let you get going. Just figured I'd make sure to remind you, you're gonna want to put them steps in so you don't have somebody wipe them off, eh? We'll talk to you later. The drive-by happens when community member A is driving by community member B's place and honks and waves out the window, just in case the community member B was waving and community member A did not see them. The only problem with the requirement to waive regulation is that it has cost Saskatchewan healthcare millions of dollars in carpal tunnel surgery and rotator cuff surgeries for the massive amount of waiving that members of rural Saskatchewan have to do within their communities. This has been an in-depth look at the requirement to waive. This is Quick Dick McDick and Casey signing off, reminding you that someone's day can always be given a save when you give them a big old Saskatchewan wave. We'll catch you next time.